Hello to everyone and welcome to Energy Capital News. I'm Ana Tafoya and today I'm with Matthew Small, Development Project Manager at StormFisher. Matt will talk with us about the increasing relevance of renewable natural gas and in this regard, the potentialities of power-to-gas technologies. What is renewable natural gas and why is it important?
Sure. So, the American Gas Association defines renewable natural gas as any pipeline-compatible gas fuel derived from sources that has a lower life cycle carbon emissions than geological natural gas. So what that really means is that it's a drop-in substitute for geological natural gas that's made from renewable sources. And so this lower carbon intensity that it has makes it attractive to a lot of buyers that are trying to reduce their carbon footprint. And the easy part about it is it can be used in any infrastructure that natural gas is used in. So whether that be natural gas vehicles or boilers or even cogeneration technologies, this can be a drop-in solution. It's quite easy to apply.
Could you tell us more about RNG's main differences versus generic natural gas and liquefied natural gas?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with generic natural gas, from the perspective of like the molecules and the gas itself, it's almost identical. So if you had it in the pipeline, had it stored somewhere, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference in many ways. And if you were using it and if you were a customer, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference in many ways, except for one key one, which would be your carbon emissions report. So carbon footprint and the emissions associated with using that gas are much lower. In some cases, it can be even negative, which can really help with carbon footprints and reporting and meeting goals.
In North America, which are your forecasts regarding RNG demand and consumption?
Right, yeah. So I'll start with where we're at now. So in 2019, the RNG consumption in the US was about 33 billion cubic feet. The majority of that was in the transportation industry that was used, primarily in California. But there is starting to be seen some growth elsewhere. And actually, if you go back 5 years, the use has tripled in those last 5 years. We really see that trend to continue to go on. So we see in the next 5 years, another tripling and continuing that pathway. And so the reason for that is we see different buyers coming into play a bigger role. Right now, where it's mostly these transportation buyers. We will also see utilities getting involved, so natural gas utilities, and also these voluntary buyers. So that includes, we're seeing some colleges and universities who are becoming very interested in this product. They have the infrastructure that uses it, like the cogeneration systems. And also we see some other corporations like automakers and other groups that are starting to buy RNG as well.
And in this regard, how can power-to-gas facilities meet this growing RNG demand?
Yeah, sure. So to walk through that, I guess first to discuss the RNG facilities that are already out there today. They're mostly using waste and converting that into biogas, which is then upgraded to the RNG. So when we think about that, the waste sources is like garbage and landfill waste. You can pull gas off that and convert it into RNG. We also see it from dairy and different manure farms where they convert the manure into RNG. And so the trouble with those is that they're feedstock limited. There's just an inherent limitation there to how you can gather the waste and convert it into biogas and ultimately RNG. And so the really interesting part about power to gas is that we're starting to tap into renewable resources, renewable electricity, so wind and solar power, that is becoming more and more abundant. And so we can tap into that, take the power, use electrolysis process to convert that into hydrogen, and then even further convert that using a methanation technology into renewable natural gas. And the things we can do there, we do it at a much larger scale, and we can also do it without the feedstock limitations. So as the demand starts to grow, we believe that this will play a big part in meeting that demand.
Are there lower costs with power-to-gas facilities for that process to happen?
There can be, yes. Right now, we're trying to get to the point where it's competitive with some of the existing sources. But it really depends. What we're hoping to do is scale it up to larger scales, get the price to be competitive. And the other thing is the demand and prices being paid in the market have a lot to do with the carbon intensity. So those are really low carbon sources that are usually the dairy farms, for example, are very, very low carbon and very high prices paid for those. Whereas landfill gas is less carbon negative and more close to a fossil natural gas in terms of carbon intensity. and those generally receive lower costs or have lower prices. So power to gas we see as something that fits in between those, in both in price and in its carbon intensity. It's about a zero or neutral carbon intensity. We think it's price, and we can justify projects in a price that's somewhere in between what people pay for dairy, they pay for natural gas.
And finally, Matt, could you tell us more about StormFisher's power to gas projects in Houston and Corpus Christi? And would you say Texas has the potential to become an RNG distributor for the rest of the country and maybe in the future globally?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're looking in Houston and Corpus Christi to site some power to gas projects at the 100 megawatt scale that I was mentioning. That's about a $200 million investment. And so what's drawn us there is there's basically two elements that we need to have to make one of these projects successful. One is abundant and affordable renewable electricity, which Texas has. And then also the next one is a carbon dioxide source. So there are a number of sources that work for carbon dioxide, but some of the more easy to tap into ones are the industry that's in the Gulf Coast there. So Corpus Christi and Houston are two of the first locations we're looking. We're also looking in other areas in Texas. And what we really like is the fact that while those elements are present, there's also the expertise to build these large industrial projects. And so we absolutely see it as a potential to be an exporter of RNG to the rest of the country, if you will. So that'd be very exciting to